What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Edison Club podcast. I'm your host, Mike, joined tonight by my teammates, Ty Payne, and making his podcast debut, we have Enraged Peacock. So it's going to be kind of a Q&A segment. I figured since it's his first time being on here, we'd ask him some questions, just the normal kind of Yu-Gi-Oh questions. So I'm going to go first. I have a few questions prepared as well as Ty. And my first question is, how did you get into Yu-Gi-Oh?
Sure thing. So, like most of us, I'm a male in my 30s, and I watched cartoons, and I saw the anime one day, and I really, really liked it. My grandpa was actually like a big part of my life, so from the episode 1, I was just sucked in. Like him and his grandpa's relationship, that whole thing. Like I was like, oh man, I'm about this. So he went and got me the Yu-Gi starter deck that he saw at Walmart, and then I got the cards, started playing, and then my next door neighbor, his mom ended up getting him some cards and got him the other the Kaiba deck, and then we would just play, not knowing any of the rules, not doing anything, just how everyone kind of starts, kind of like that. And then just the longer I did it, I kind of like started, a handful of other kids in the neighborhood would end up start playing, and I started beating like other kids in the neighborhood, and I'd always come home and like tell my mom, tell my grandpa, oh hey, I won, and they'd be all excited for it. Well, in the actual newspaper, like I said, I'm 30, so back when we still used newspapers, my grandpa found that they had a local tournament at a game store, which is called Caveman, and he called up there, and he would take me up there, and I showed up, and at this point, it was pre-Labyrinth and Nightmare. I know that. I don't know the exact date. But I know it was pre-Labyrinth and Nightmare, and I have just all my random cards that I've acquired through packs and the starter deck, and all my holo cards had sleeves on them, and my regular cards didn't have sleeves on them. And I went to sit down and play, and the guy's like, "You can't do that." And then he showed me how to put all the cards in the same sleeve, and then we played. Apparently, Mirror Force had been banned, and I flipped the Mirror Force on him, and he freaks out on me, goes super This was an adult, by the way. He was a full-on 20-year-old guy, and I'm 9. And he's like, "Man, that's banned. You can't play that." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm 9." And
yeah, good excuse. I am literally 9 years old.
Yeah, I was like, I literally showed up with sleeves on 4 cards. How do you expect me to know what a ban list is if I don't know how to put sleeves on the cards? But anyway, so long story short, that's kind of how it started. And the crazy thing was, looking back, now that I have a son who's 4, my grandpa would take me there, and he would sit there for 4 or 5 hours in the store, because he wasn't just going to leave me there. And he would just sit there and just walk around the store, read the random books, and do whatever, wait for me to finish. And then whenever I had my 2 losses, or at one time it was so big, we actually had an A bracket and a B bracket. So you'd have 2 rounds. So in between each round, it'd be an hour and a half, because you'd have this Swiss for the A people, and you have Swiss for the B people. And we had people playing in the floor, because it was super big, whenever it started. And eventually everything kind of got to a point where my grandpa had been there so many times, you got to know the people who ran the store, and he felt comfortable leaving me there after a year or 2. But looking back, I was like, man, I don't think I would have been this deep into the game if he wouldn't have actually took the time to sit there and stay there with me, because he saw just how much I just enjoyed it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then Yugi and his grandpa having their whole relationship throughout the whole anime, that just really resonated with me as a little kid. So that was my humble origin of it. To kind of fast forward from that, I then just played periodically here and there in middle school, high school with my friends, and I was consistently beating a lot of the people I would randomly play from school or this or that. And then when I was still going to the tournaments when I was little, I was always really bad, and didn't really care about it for a while. Then I came back in right before high school, and it was 2007, and the first competitive deck, I'd say in quotes, whenever I started actually finding out what locals were, and how it was a every week thing, and how you try to actually grow and get better as a player. It was a Exodia deck that had card of safe return, double mana core of darkness, and you played magical hats and Oja Magic, and it was a little infinite mana core of darkness draw loop to draw your Exodia deck.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Oh yeah, my shout out one of my best friends, Conway. He made the deck for me, and then from then, that was when I first started. That was into 2007, so into PC, going into Teledad, and I had no option to ever play Teledad, so I got the leftover stuff I could get from PC Monarch. Played PC Monarch, then I played competitively from like late 07, 08, all the way to like 2012 ish, and then I quit. But like you never really quit Yu-Gi-Oh, you know?
Yeah. You just
So
take a break. That's about it.
Yeah. So I took a break. I still kind of kept up with it. I've always had like, even though I've like quit the game so many times, I've always had like Yu-Gi-Oh content creators in my YouTube subscription thing just for everything. So I've always kind of followed the game. Then I fell out. I came back in 2016 for a stint, and then my last actual like big premiere event was YCS Seattle 2017. I played a 60 card Grass, Zoo, Infernoid, Monstrosity. Went X3, almost top, but didn't make it. Then took a big break, and then started playing back in, with COVID and everything. That's when I really got my like itch to start looking into it again, like everyone else. And I started out with Goat, and then moved on to Edison, and here we are today.
Well, that was cool. I feel like most players have like a very similar origin story in the way that they were introduced to the game. My dad would take me like to our locals to buy cards. Then my uncle would take me and my cousin to the locals, which was a candle shop. I've told that story a few times, and he would always, there was a bookstore next door, so he would go in the bookstore and read. It's very cool how similar a lot of the stories are in the beginning.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it's funny how like I still think of like all the stories from like the candle shop days, boy.
Yeah, I do too. I find myself reminiscing on those from time to time, for sure.
I used to do the one of the things that I always used to do when thinking about like memories of like your candle shop days, things like that. I used to always I could tell what period of my life was, like, let's say like a song was popular or what the Yu-Gi-Oh format was. I'm like, well, wait a second,
Yes.
that was 07? What was 07? So that was PC Monarch, so I was in 8th grade, so that's how I would like figure out where I was in my life based on what Yu-Gi-Oh format was.
I thought I was the only one that did that, and I'm so glad to know that is like a perfectly just normal thing to do, because I do the exact same thing.
And
Yeah, I do the same thing as well.
3 years ago.
Somebody will mention something like, oh yes, 2017, such a good time, and it's like helicopters crashing with like Zodiac Tridents and like Zodiac cards in my head. Just like, yes, 2017, what a time.
2017 was great for me. I was playing Barrier Statue.
Yeah, I bet it was. Okay, well, I very, very satisfied with that answer. Thank you for sharing that story with us.
Oh, for sure.
Ty, what's the first question on your list for Enraged?
All right. So my first question is like, so like out of like all like the like, well, really it was like all the Time Wizard formats, like what drew you like into Edison format? Like what was the thing about Edison that drew you into it like over like Goater?
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm actually really glad you asked, because I actually have a good like point about it, and it's kind of funny because whenever we were all originally quitting, so there's a couple reasons why. First off, I started with Goat, and then you can only get Delinquent Duo'd and Trap Dust Shooted so many times before you get to play your turn, and you're starting with 3 cards before you just go crazy and have to do something else.
Yeah.
So that's the first part. The second was you can only play so many Chaos Turbo Mirrors before you're just like, okay, like, But the real reason, one of the main ones, I would say, is my first and only regional top was during actual Edison format. I got the super ugly, X-Saber mat. It's on my desk. It's what I use for my mouse pad. It's the only event I ever topped. I was playing Lightsworn with 1 Christia. I know Michael liked that. So it was 1 Christia, no Shire, but I think it was just 3 Celestia, 2 Honest, and I played some other random fairy that I thought was good. And then the 1 Christia was my first ever top. So I always liked Edison format because it's the first time I ever topped. And it was the first time the game felt like balanced from what it was, because before that, directly before it, you had Dark Strike Fighter, Synchro Cat. Like, that was a horrible time to be alive if you were playing back then. It was insane.
Yeah, it really was.
I went to Gen Con. I beat Charles Easton, who was the 2009 Canadian National Champion that year, who won with the mysterious missing Monster Reborn in his deck list thing. Well, I beat him. I was just playing Gladiator Beast, but there was 3 rounds in a row where I literally got like Cold Wave Monk double spell, and I just lost. And I was like, okay, this is high caliber Yu-Gi-Oh that I'm not prepared for, apparently. Because it was like my first, YCS. It was Gen Con Indy of 09. And so that was the format before. And then even prior to that, you had like the Norlaris blow up, like Lightstorm that one, and then you had like it was the really toxic thing for it. And then immediately following Edison format, you had X-Saber, Infernity, and Frog FTK. And I was a big Frog FTK enjoyer. I still think it's the greatest deck the game has ever created. But Edison format drew to me a lot is because even whenever me and all my local friends started getting out of the game in like late 2011, 2012, we used to be like, well, let's just play Pre-Shining Darkness format. Like we'd go back and say, let's play the Pre-Shining Darkness format where it was like hamsters and flame bells and monarchs and like, a fair back and forth kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because we're all old Yu-Gi-Oh! Heads from back in the day. And this was like in 2012, we were saying, let's go back and play Pre-Shining Darkness format. As I get into GOAT and then start learning about what Edison format is, I'm like, I didn't know that had a name. We always just called it Pre-Shining Darkness format. So I thought that was really cool that we had already, in our friend group, kind of like been playing an idea of like playing a fun retro format that was a fair, format before it like took, hold. And then I realized, oh, there's something actually big here because like if we were already doing that and then seeing like just the growth of where it's came over the last couple of years, it's just an incredible format. But the main thing overall to say all this is just it's the people, like just for like the people who play it are like what makes it like how great it is.
Yeah, I thoroughly agree. Like we really, I feel like we really do have like one of the best communities like when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, and like now that you brought it up, like with like talking about like Shining Darkness and talking about like the Dark Strike Fire format. When you really think about it, like you hear people like complain about Edison, just like, oh, this you won because you have so many one-ofs, or you sacked me with brain control or dust shoot or blah blah blah.
They don't know.
Yeah, they don't realize what was these formats that were surrounding it. Like before,
the Wycest that won the event before Edison was literally the Lightstorm Norlaris blow up deck. Like that was that was the winning deck. I'm pretty sure of the Wycest right before Edison.
Yeah, it was just before Edison was a wild time. Because I remember I played Black Wings with Ultimate Offering and Dark Strike Fighters. That's the home. Like,
I remember when I watched Philly Ludo win with Black Wings with Dark Strike Fighter.
Yeah,
3 Gale.
Yeah, it was an insane time and an insane deck.
Bro, 3 Gale is unhinged.
Yeah, I mean, like even that Mizuki was at 2, Brio was at more than 1. Like it was the format directly prior to Edison. Like Mizuki was at I think 2 or 3. I don't know if Carter Safe Return was already hit. It may have been, but like the Diva Zombie pre Edison was absurd. It was so absurd of a deck.
I remember that deck too. And it's just like it's so funny because like pre Edison that deck is wild, but during like when actual Edison starts going on, that deck's not seen in that tournament, and it blows my mind. It's like, where did this deck go? Because it's not it wasn't. I would say it wouldn't be considered bad during that time period.
No, I agree. Well, one of the things that I've heard Frazier say quite a few times is, it's called Dragon Ruler format. It's called Tengu format. It's called, I mean, I don't know as much about hat format, but those are based on individual decks that monopolize that, specific thing. With Edison, there's not like the deck. Like, even with there being like the big 3 now, like there's always a paradigm shift with it being an eternal format where things will change, and there's always going to be cards that are clearly in a league their own above that, but it's still like evolving. Like the deck I top nationals with didn't exist during Edison, and like a lot of decks that are good now didn't exist not even like earlier this year, but like last year, like or the year before. Like it's come so far since the 2021s where I really started like being online and having like a presence, like of following it like competitively, and it's changed so much in a short amount of time, and it's just like a nice, perfect little like lightning in a bottle kind of thing where it's a good card pool with enough power but enough restrictions from the ban list to also be put like juxtaposed in between 2 previous and like former formats where it was like unbelievably power crept. So it's a nice little like almost like honey like hole,
Right. It really is when you really look at it. Edison really is is pretty balanced for the most part.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
agree. I would much rather stare down a like double whirlwind Ashura than get delinquent duoed and trap dust shoot where I start with 3 cards before I get to draw my fourth for turn.
Yeah, stuff like that is like every time I try to play GOAT format, and I have tried many times, and it always ends up happening like that, like exactly what Enraged just said. And either that or I win the die roll, and I'm like, okay, well I'll set my spy. This is a good play, and it gets noblemaned every time, and I'm just like, this is not for me. I'm not a GOAT fanatic. If I did play GOAT, I would probably play like Reasoning Gate Turbo, just because it's just fast.
I'm a fan of Reasoning Gate. I am a big fan of GOAT. Like I talk a lot of crap on it, but I am a big fan. I've always really enjoyed it. You have to enjoy it with the mindset knowing that like it's not a fair format. Like yes, to an extent. Like so, I've grinded a lot of online GOAT when it first started. When they first had like the thing, I actually have a screenshot where I was ranked 2 on the DB GOAT ranked ladder at one point.
Oh, okay, nice.
So yeah, the whole thing with GOAT is like Graceful Cherry doesn't bother me, Pot of Greed doesn't bother me. Snatch Steal is infuriating, but doesn't actually bother me because there's more than enough main deck outs to make it to where it's play aroundable. There's no way to play around a turn 1 Dust Shoot and a turn 1 Duo. If I was to take out anything of GOAT format, my changes for sure changes I would definitely take would be I'd either put Trap Dust Shoot at 1 or 0. I would get rid of Delinquent Duo and I'd ban Ring. Everything else I think is totally fine. But those 3 cards make it to where things that are not fine and people who are not nearly as good. The cards are better than the players, is what I'm getting at in those instances. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good point. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, like with GOAT now, I ain't gonna lie, I just be memeing with the deck I play. I play Horus with Cyber.
Dude, don't even mention Horus around me, dude. I have had enough.
On the ranked ladder, I've lost many a time to Horus because Chaos Turbo cannot out a Decree, and if you have the King Dragoon, a Decree, like they're just you're done. You don't need the Horse part of it. You just need the King Dragoon and the Decree, and you're like, well, let's go to game 2.
Yeah, I'll flip up Decree, bring out Cyberstein, summon King Dragoon, bring out level 6 creature swap, give them the Cyberstein, attack over with level 6, attack with King Dragoon, in phase get the level 8, and just say, if you can break it, you got it. Yeah,
whenever I climbed to my rank 2, I was actually on like a 26-0 like tear or 26 and something tear, where it was weird because I didn't know how the rankings worked. I was still like not really super into it, but I was playing Earth Aggro, and I just kept. A lot of people were playing either Warrior or they were playing Chaos Turbo, and Earth Aggro can really just walk over those, especially people who aren't super familiar with the format. Mm-hmm. But also, there's just a handful of non-games just because of how. People sleep on the fact of how powerful Cold Wave Gigantes is. Like, you have, versus Warrior, they have a Blade Knight and 4 back row. You go Cold Wave Special Gigantes, crash into it, they lose all 4 of their back row, and then you use your normal summon as like a Goblin Attack Force to swing over. You literally went +5 for summoning 2 monsters and playing a Cold Wave.
Yeah.
That's the one GOAT deck that I actually enjoy, is the James Ark's Grand Marg, Last Will, Cyberstein thing with like triple Cold Wave. Oh, yeah. I actually do enjoy playing that deck.
That was one of the first deck profiles I remember really looking into and realizing like there's another way to like a different access to look at GOAT format as, instead of just optimizing the already built things, is to take it, kind of use it as like a paradigm shift to exploit the weaknesses of things that are going on. And he's really good at that. And Edison, GOAT, whatever, like he's a very, very good player. I've lost to him, I think I've only beat him, twice, maybe only once in my entire time in any of the Discords. He's a very strong player, a very, very good deck builder.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely is.
It's funny, me and our teammate Brandon Combs, back then we called the Earth Aggro deck during actual GOAT format. We called it Rocky Mountain Breakdown.
I love that. That's a really good name for that deck, actually.
Dude, we had me and Combs used to tear up regionals with that deck. That deck was so aggressive and so fun at the same time.
I've shown you guys the little website thing that our locals does, haven't I? where it keeps track of like what we do and like deck profiles and little things like that of like our ongoing record. We have a little website that they made. I bring that up because one of the things they always, well, I say us, it's one guy, his name's Cody, Shadow Cody. He's awesome. But one of the things he does, it tracks like most played cards and different things like that, and like what decks win the most and everything like of our local, and like to help us look back at our own stats and how to improve like each season of it. And it was funny because obviously, you know, BLS Chaos Sorcerer was on like every single deck. I'm like, I want to win an event without BLS or Chaos Sorcerer in my deck. And that's where I kind of fell into the love with like Earth Aggro, is to win without having a card that literally says, oh, I win on it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely get what you mean. Okay. All right. I think that wraps up Ty's first question there. My next question is
I'm a talker and I'm long-winded, so I'm sorry. I'll probably derail a bunch of these questions.
No, you're good. You're good. That's the best episodes, honestly. Yeah, we love that. What is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card?
I have a couple. So
okay, you can do a few. I know it's always hard to pick one.
So what do you mean by like your favorite? Like, I know that's a weird question to ask back. Like, what do you like? Like, what is the criteria for like, if like, what is like number one if you wanted to ever own one, just your favorite card you've ever had, or like just
any card?
I have my favorite old card, and then I have my favorite, like, it's not really modern, but like just my favorite card that's been my favorite card forever.
Okay, let's do that. Like your favorite old card, and then like maybe a favorite newer card. Like if you were to ask me, I would say like Dark Magician of Chaos is like my favorite old card, and like favorite newer card would be like I have so many, it's always so hard for me to pick. Like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is like probably one of my favorite.
That too. I'm like, there's so many cards that have so many sentimental, just random things for me over the years. But I'd say like top three in no particular order, more or less. So for the longest time, it was always Black Skull Dragon. I just thought he was so freaking cool. And I remember being a little kid and getting a Black Skull Dragon 10, and I pulled a Black Skull Dragon out of the Metal Raiders pack. And I was like, oh my God, I am unstoppable, even though there's no way to make two Black Skull Dragon ever in 2003. For the longest time, just the artwork. I remember getting the game, and I remember I played that game for hours and hours, and just reminds me of being little and my mom getting it for me. And my mom passed in 2017, so it's got just a different level of like caring with it. But the Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, or the Red Eyes Metal Dragon, not the new one, from the Forbidden Memories.
Yeah.
The Red Eyes Metal Dragon. That would, if I had to like put a gun to my head, hard choice, Red Eyes Metal Dragon would be my favorite card of all time. But my favorite card for the longest time has always been Treeborn Frog. I've just always liked him. I played frogs well longer than they should have ever been played. I literally got 33rd at YCS Dallas in 2011 at the Six Samurai YCS with Frog Monarch. And in the Tengu format, I played like a water undying Tengu frog pile with malicious. So I've just always loved Treeborn Frog. So those would probably be my big three.
Okay, very cool. Treeborn Frog, that's a good one. A lot of people really like him. I actually just got a hat yesterday from Memento Mori Accessories, and it's a snapback hat that has Treeborn Frog on the back, so that's pretty cool.
That is cool. That is super cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I like it pretty good. Okay, Ty, go ahead and hit him with your next one.
I know MBT. I was like, real quick, I know MBT had some merch for a while that had a Treeborn Frog on it. I was like, man, that looks really nice. But I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna swing it just for a Treeborn Frog meme on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. All right, Ty, go ahead. Go right ahead.
All right. So, I was like, me and you are like the Diva Hero dynamic duo.
Yes, sir.
Mermaid Manic and Barnacle Boy.
Yeah, we should have had the theme music in here, dude. That'd been so sick. But what drew you to the Diva Hero deck initially? I know for me, it was just I've always been like a big fan of like the Elemental Heroes and Destiny Heroes, and I just like finding a way to be able to play like some form of a hero deck that was like very aggressive, because like a lot of the decks I play are very aggressive. It was just like it was like amazing. It was like amazing for me. And Boyd here actually put the battery in my back. He's like, hey, you need to play this deck. I think you'd actually be really good with this deck.
Yes.
And like I'm a big superhero nerd as well. So that's
well, I think we all are. I mean,
yeah. But what was it about Diva Hero that drew you to that deck?
So at first, I didn't really think a lot of it a long time ago, and then so I've always loved the hero engine. Like I remember being younger and watching people play Teledad, and just the way the the D-Draw, the Malicious, the Stratos, they all just look so freaking cool.
Right.
I'd always thought like, man, they're just like that's a whole it was like a first class status like I couldn't achieve with the little bit of money I had. So they were always like out of the realm of being able to afford it. But I've always thought they were really neat and everything. But honestly, one of the reasons why I liked it so much is because I just lost to it so much in like Fraser's Discord versus Cairo. Like he would just stomp me so many times, and he'd pull game out of nowhere with some crazy things. I'm just like, the deck is crazy. I'm like, so I started sitting down and kind of thinking about it, and I started playing it, and then I'm like, I mean, I played Freeborn was one of my favorite cards. I like the hero cards. Synchroing is good, but then whenever I actually like sat down and actually like analyzed like what the deck does. So what the deck does is, you find ways to get to Stratos, and then you play Diva or play Attune. You're just playing the game naturally, right? And you're making synchros and just playing a game that's already going. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, now that we've dealt this back and forth, and I've got my synchro, you add my synchro, this and that. Like, well, now I'm going to drop a guy that will end the game, and you will not have a favorable way to interact with him. And I was like, just the natural gameplay of how Diva Hero is like, it's a small little grind thing, how like I like with Edison. But it's also like, okay, well, if you give me an opportunity, like you're going to lose. And I remember I felt so bad. So round 1 at Nationals, I play against a guy playing Zombie, and game 3, like game 1, I beat him pretty quick. It wasn't a whole lot of stuff. I beat him pretty fast. Game 2, he beats me pretty quick with a surprise, like. He trap stunned me. I'm like, that's crazy because I was maining trap stun. I was like, and I lost because of it. So I'm like, that's kind of cool. But game 3, he goes first and he goes, set a monster. And I go, Special Prodigy, Tribute for Caius, banish a monster, attack for 34 because there's a tomato. He goes, set Pyramid Turtle. I go, Tribute Caius for Caius, attack for 24. He goes, summon Zombie Master, E-Telly out of Krebins. Krebins make Goyo. Goyo take my Caius. I go, cool, brain control your Goyo, Tribute for Caius, attack for game.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Yeah. So shout out to I don't know that. I didn't know him. He was a nice guy. His name was Greg. I felt bad, but I was like, that's Yu-Gi-Oh. But and whenever the first time I ever beat Fraser in the shadow games that we do on in his Discord, like the first time I ever beat him was with Diva Hero. And I'm like, this deck is on a different level of. I think in our video with him, I said, if you give me an inch, I'm gonna take 2 miles. Like it has so many combinations of cards that just say you lose. There's a handful of hands like that, but also just like the natural, just besides drawing the like my one loss in Swiss, I drew Grepper and no other monsters, and then game 2 I drew Gilman and no other monsters, and then he like Whirlwind, Dark Arm, Brain, like all the good cards. So it was just a non-game. But every game that I played, I was able to either maneuver or figure out a situation to get out of what was happening, because it's a big like kind of toolbox kind of deck that also has an emergency like oh shit win button with multiple win buttons, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's really also hard. It's hard to side forward too. It didn't have like an auto side like easy plan. Like Machina, you have Cyber Dragon. For Black One you have Consecrated, or I always did the Consecrated and Decree, and then for Lightsworn you have Light Mirror. You have just Soul Release, different like auto lose things. And with Diva Hero, there's a handful of cards that are good, but there's not a lot of cards that are just, you're not catching strays in the extra deck while playing Diva Hero usually, like you would with like Frogs or Blackwing or Bayou or something of that nature. So I thought that was going to make it a good call. Also, it was on nobody's radar, and I thought that was a big benefit for playing it like at Nationals, and I'm a big fan of it. It's just, it wasn't on the radar. Every tier list I watched, people put it in like the meh or above meh tier.
Yeah, nobody pre-nationals, like nobody believed in the deck, and then because I would see people's tier lists and stuff as well, and like no one really cared about it or respected it. But when you're sitting across from Diva Hero, if you're not careful, you are going to die.
Can confirm.
I mean, then also I had the unfair advantage of having a true hero be my. He's like, I'm not going to Nationals, so I'm gonna just dump all the knowledge I have into you. And me and him talked a whole lot, came up with ideas. I kept him updated throughout the rounds, and he's just an amazing coach, amazing player. Just he's all around an awesome person too. So
yeah, dude, shout outs to him.
Yeah, super shout outs to True Hero. He's truly the GOAT. I said it a couple times, like he walks so we could run.
Exactly. He's my sensei as well. It's actually in Korea right now. It's actually his birthday. So happy birthday.
I did not know. I'll tell him happy birthday later.
Yeah. This will be live Friday, so happy belated birthday.
Yeah.
If his birthday's Thursday. That's cool though. Very cool. Yeah, he helped me a lot last year around YCS Richmond. I was messaging him the morning of, either the morning or the night, whichever one he would have been awake for, obviously, and he gave me several pointers. Ended up helping me beat the Blackwing guy I beat in top 8. So yeah, big shout outs to a True Hero. If you're not subscribed, go check him out.
Definitely.
Sure. I think I was his first Patreon member too. I'm a big fan.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool. I actually didn't even know he had a Patreon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you don't watch the end of the videos then.
Yeah.
Dang it! No, I outed myself. No.
He gives like coaching and stuff.
I knew he did that and like replays. For some reason, I just thought he did them through Discord. But I will have to go join his Patreon.
Free entry to his tournaments. He hasn't had any in a while, but there for a while he had quite a few, and getting free entry was really nice.
Cool. I'll definitely check that out.
Just the content he produces is always top tier. Like he's very. If you watch any of his videos and you don't learn something, I don't think you're being honest with yourself.
Yeah. You need to watch it again.
Yeah, it's very informative.
Yeah, his Kaiba talk videos. There are some of those I have watched several times. And is like how to beat series, stuff like that. I've watched all of those several times.
Yeah. That's one of the things to kind of circle back what we were saying earlier about the Edison community being such a great community. Like, it's just everyone I've met along the way are like, so back in the day, you guys played when I did, the people who were like at the top, they were like normally known for being like assholes or condescending or like, no, you wouldn't, talk to them. Like, you wouldn't be able to really communicate with them unless you're like in the inner circle, back in the day. But now all the top players, they're like openly giving out information, but also trying to just make the community better. And one of the reasons I feel like I did so well at Nationals is because like in Fraser's Discord, like his like weekly locals are so hard with so many high caliber people that my first 3 rounds, I'm like, this Nationals is kind of, it felt like a joke. I was like, these people are not on the same caliber of these people I play on a random online Thursday,
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you were saying, there are so many people that play Edison that are just open to helping players get better and watching the community grow. Like so many people that I've talked with, like obviously Fraser and Hydropump and James Ark, Cameron Saunders, like Eric Shin, like it just keeps going on and on. These are all people like you can message them. They'll give you some help, whatever you ask for. And it's awesome because when I was playing Advanced, a lot of those players wouldn't even open your message most of the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't play Modern, but the biggest thing I've noticed whenever I see people complaining about Modern online or doing anything with Modern, if you go on Twitter and you see a post by any person that plays Modern, if it's a person who gets like a bunch of comments, if you scroll through the comments, I guarantee at least one person say, "Hey, come to Edison, we'll love to have you." Like it's the most we're actively trying to recruit people to us instead of like doing the opposite where it's like gatekeeping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not to say anything bad about the GOAT community, but the GOAT community is like a little bit of a even older player base and kind of remind me more of like old Magic players where it's like an elitist, like old boys kind of club where they're not as, open and accepting, except for JDZ. Shout out JDZ. He's incredible.
JDZ is amazing. But
the rest of the general GOAT community is not my favorite. And similar thing with Modern. Not saying anything bad about those individual groups. It's just Edison's a place where I felt at home and it just felt like it was like how, we are. Like it's just a bunch of dudes in their late 20s, early 30s, just living through life and just playing a game that is, it's a niche part of a niche game, so it's a weird subsect to be in, but everyone's is in it for like just the love of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a way that you can go back and play the Yu-Gi-Oh! That you enjoy. And we're all busy. We're all old now. So like if you need to not touch cards for a month, like you can lay them down and come back and you're not 3 sets behind, 4 decks behind,
Exactly. If you need a break, the format will still be there when you get back.
Yeah, it's
it'll be different, but it won't be such a paradigm shift where you don't know what's going on. You're like, oh, I didn't know that Frog the Fishborg Blaster was a thing, or oh, I didn't know Dragon Turbo existed.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ty, go ahead. You have one more question prepared, right?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead and hit him with that one.
All right. It's kind of like a little bit of a double whammy, but it should be fine. Austin, if you could change anything about the Ultimate Time Wizard, like formats or tournaments, what would it be? And also, what format would you like to see be supported next for Ultimate Time Wizards?
Okay, the question went a little different from how I was going, because the first thing I was going to say was top 8 needs better prizes.
I agree.
I got the same $30 rubber mat that you get for an 8-man win-a-mat. Didn't even have a special Nationals or Ultimate Time Wizards. Even a stamp like that would have been super nice, But that's the thing, is you don't play a game for the prizes, but it would feel nice to have something that was exclusive to that accomplishment versus like, I don't think everyone should get, giant cards or anything crazy like that. I'm just like, even just a mat that just said, Ultimate Time Wizard that was exclusive to just that event might be cool.
Yeah, because you top 8'd like the biggest Edison tournament we've ever had.
I did. I was pretty proud of it. And another thing, like I said, my mother passed away in 2017. The date she passed away was July 20th, and Nationals was on July 20th. So I'm like, man, it was an anime weekend moment kind of thing. Like, I won on the bubble. Like, I topped my first ever premiere top, the biggest event ever happened. And like, it was super awesome because she was super encouraging, like whenever I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh growing up, and like that whole thing kind of brought it full circle. And it was an extra special moment for me, just not just for like a player credential kind of thing, just like a emotional, personal thing, like to do that on the anniversary of her death date, like had such a huge, like sentimental impact on me too, which was an incredible feeling.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man. That's so crazy awesome. Too, considering that my birthday is July 20th as well.
Oh, really? That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's
July 20th, 2017 was the day she passed. It's also the same day that Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park passed away.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was a very bad day. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. That is your birthday, because it's also crazy because I remember you weren't able to make it, but you had the bounty of giving out the honest to the highest placing Lightsworn player, and I ringed with the guy who was the highest placing Lightsworn player, and I worked on the list with him. So I was like, that's such a full circle moment that you could never you couldn't script it. Like, it was just so perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool too. Like, I remember making that post because I couldn't get there. And then he messaged me, I'm pretty sure on Facebook, and we were talking. And then
I told him, somehow, hey, I'm like, you're the highest placing Lightsworn. You got to hit up Michael Boyd. So I'm like, he's giving away something for the highest placing Lightsworn, and I'm positive, like, that's you.
Yeah. And somehow I found out he was Frozen Soul, and I was like, man, that is so cool. I was like, I'm starstruck right now. He was like, oh, I'm nobody. I was like, bro, I've listened to you on like 3 podcast episodes. Okay. Like, I'm freaking out right now. It was super cool. He's such a cool guy.
Trip. I couldn't have done a lot of it if it wasn't for him. Like, financially, he helped like cover the cost originally, and then like I was able to get him back. And then he actually does something through Uber, so he's able to like hook me up with getting an Uber like from the airport like to where we were staying, because he was driving in from Florida. Like, so he drove like 17 hours or something crazy. While I
my gosh!
I flew there, and he coordinated all that. And like, yeah, I have nothing but great things to say about him. He was an awesome person, and it was funny because we had a DB call like a few days before we went, and he was doing the screen share, and we'd go on the ladder and just play and work on the list. And he plays Lightsworn like a man. I was like, I would not do this play because that sounds crazy to me. He's like, yeah, but you can't be a coward. And more times than not, it kind of paid off for him.
Yeah, he is unhinged playing Lightsworn. I did a training sessions video with him. It was actually the first one I did, where we took his Twilight list over to ladder and played it. And there were these times where like he was talking about like siding out Judgment Dragon and all these different things, and I was like, this is unhinged, but you sold it, and it makes sense, in some scenarios. So yeah, he's unhinged. I love it.
So to circle back, what the question was, the other thing exactly relating to Frozen Soul was, he got 16th place. So if it was top 16 instead of top 8, he would have made the top cut, which I feel like for it being 9 rounds and 500 people, it should have been top 16.
Absolutely.
yeah, me and Boyd were at that that one cave that I was telling you about, like when I was like preparing my Diva Hero like the Diva Hero list for like playing that tournament. Like when we heard it was just top 8, I was just like, that's wild that they have that many players and they're still only doing top 8. That's pretty crazy.
Well, the craziest part was they said, all right, they had the player meeting. They're like 6 rounds today, 2 rounds tomorrow, and then top cut and top 8. We're like, okay, whatever. Then like round 2 comes around. They're like, just kidding. It's 9 rounds all today and top 8 tomorrow. And we're like, that doesn't make sense either. But apparently, from what I've heard, I don't know anything for sure, but the way that judges are compensated, it's not like the amount of hours, it's like per day. So by them being able to conclude it like on just one day, made it to where they didn't have to compensate the judges as much, and the judges by default then got worked like extra hard for the exact same amount of pay, which is also something I didn't agree with either.
Yikes.
Jeez. Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about all that.
I don't know. Like I said, I always want to preface it with like a grain of salt because it's just, a he said, she said, kind of deal. But it's something that I heard from multiple people on multiple occasions that are normally not known just to say stuff without having something behind it, which it also sounds like something a big, small indie company like Konami would try to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, so to finish up with that, the other, like, what would you say? What was the next best or the next format I'd want in Time Wizard?
Yeah, what would be the next retro format you'd want to see be supported with the Ultimate Time Wizard tournaments? Like I know like a lot of people there's like wanted Tengu, a lot of people want Hat. What is the format that you would like to see supported next?
I don't know if it'd necessarily be like good or healthy in hindsight because of just how it's ever came through. But I really enjoy Perfect Circle, even though it has Crush Card, even though it has Light and Darkness Dragon, and like it's the country mile best thing you can be doing besides like this crazy DDT deck that's been doing something somewhat relative like on the format library stuff. But I really enjoy Perfect Circle, and I'm trying to think of like the one that'd be realistic that they would adapt, because I don't think they would go further back in the timeline between GOAT and Edison, just because even some modern players have trouble with how slow Edison is like as a result. So
right.
I didn't play a whole lot. I didn't play during Hat format. I know of it, and I kind of like I still would watch like the ARGs, like the tournaments they would like put like on YouTube, like the 8-9, 10 round things and do the whole top cut. So I do think Hat format looks promising. It's something that I have very little experience with, so I don't know how well I would do in it. So I think Hat seems to be very promising. And then personally, I would like to play like Perfect Circle, but like I said, I'm an old boomer, and I really enjoy. I don't know if you ever resolve Disc Commander, but we do. So in our personal locals, we also do. Like I said, we do GOAT format, we do Edison, and then we have another format that we always have is like our rotating format. So like every 4 months, we'll pick a different one. Like we've done the Chimera Tech format, which is actually a really fun format if no one plays the Chimera Tech bullshit. It's a super, super fun format. And actually so one of the things we also do is at the end of the year, each format, they'll submit these ballots and you vote on what deck was your favorite deck that won a tournament that year. And then they do a full Cody does a full old metagame style article where he interviewed, because I won this deck with a warrior zombie skill drain deck with like DDV, and it was super cool because skill drain was so good because it hit all the monarch decks that were popular, as well as the machine deck that was obviously the best deck, and then gadgets was also super big. So I played this cool zombie warrior skill drain deck, and it was a lot of fun, and I did really well, and we did a whole little article thing without I'll send it to you guys in the chat later about it. It's pretty cool read. But that format, if the Chimera Tech stuff didn't exist, is a super fun format. But realistically, yeah, I'd say just Perfect Circle or probably Hat, because Hat has a lot of things that are appealing to me that I need to test more on.
All right. If you ever want to delve into Hat, I'm always down to run some games. I'm really heavy on the Mythic Ruler deck. It's been my favorite thing to play other than Boojin.
Yeah, it seems cool. I played Bujin the little bit I did play I did play Bujin for a little bit, but I've also been like just a big Jeff Jones like fanboy my whole life, and I've net decked a lot of his decks because he's just he's a different caliber of like deck builder, and I've always found myself like playing things that he built because I just like the design of like how he plays usually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually in my room I have an old red and black ARG Circuit Series mat. It's signed by like 9 different players that I respected. It's got like Frazier's name on there. It's got Hoban, Jeff, Billy.
That's cool.
It's like just a plethora of different names.
Yeah, one of my favorite things I did at Nats was meet up with everyone, from the Discords or like the content creators, and I actually had like custom little Enraged Peacock tokens made of my like little logo that I have, and then it actually had like the flavor text. Like I used Chat GPT for what would an Enraged Peacock flavor text on a Yu-Gi-Oh card say, and it was something like the Fury be Wrath the Wiles, the Enraged Peacock. It's some silly sentence, but I had all those done. So I gave Frazier one to just to keep for like his Gorse token, and then he was the first one to sign one, and apparently I was the first person he ever signed I'm Nerd instead of Frazier, whatever he used to sign with it. But I've got these 3 tokens. There's got to be over 50 signatures on them. Of just like all the people I met, all the like just good times. So that's one of my favorite things about it too.
Nice,
very cool. Okay, all right. So I have one last question before we wrap this thing up.
Sure.
All right, and this question is, how are you enjoying being a member of the Edison Club so far?
Oh, dude, I love it. I've never like been a part of like a team that wasn't just like my local, friends. So being a part of a team was cool. And then, we have our little group chat, and I message everyone every day saying good morning, saying how you guys are doing, and just it's cool. Every single time being able to bounce ideas off people, being able to just have a group of people that are like. You guys are always so positive and like always have like something like on some of the days like where I was sick or like just having like a bad mental health day, I'd always kind of pull up the chat, look at it, and then like chime in here and there, and always kind of just like help pick me up. So I'm like, man, like these people that's my team, like these are my boys, and it's just cool to be like accepted into something like that and be like have everyone happy to have me, and it's been a real awesome, amazing time. I was never super popular person, and then. The whole Enraged Peacock backstory has a lot of dark lore attached to it, and being a part of the Edison Club and talking to you guys all the time, really helped bring up the light into a lot of that darkness, and just happy to be a part of it, and a bunch of great people, great players, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, we are too. We've really enjoyed having you. I know, like, it was one of the first couple days after I'd added you to the team. You told me what you did for a living, and I was messaging you that night, and I was like, Austin, my house has a weird burning smell. What do I do? And he was like helping me go through like this checklist of things to make sure, my house wasn't going to burn down. And that was what really started. Like, obviously we had started becoming friends before then, but that was really like, man, like this guy is so solid, and this was such a good choice to put him on the team.
Yeah,
well, I appreciate that.
I thoroughly agree. Like, when Austin, like when you messaged me asking about like the team and whatnot, I was so happy. Like I messaged Boyd with the quickness. I was just like, I'm vouching for this guy. Like I think he'll be a great addition to the team. I think this is like the type of energy we need.
Yeah. I remember after you said that, I went to the group and I was just like, thoughts on Enraged Peacock joining the Edison Club. And it was I
saw that, and the options you put were yes, heck yes, or no, or something. Like it had 2 yeses, and one was like a funny one. And I remember because whenever I got added to it, I kind of scrolled up to see what people were talking about, and I read that. And I was like, I don't know, it warmed my heart a lot.
2 people responded, and I was like, all right, he's in.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It's been nothing but a blessing, and everything about it is just incredible. And I've always been like, people have seen me around, and like I said, the first time we ever like communicated was on like your YouTube chat where the thing said Joe the Peacock. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna find out. And then I made some comment about Peacock funny, haha. And then oh, we might have to get you on the podcast one day. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, I've never done anything. There's no reason for me to ever come on here. So it's kind of a cool like full circle. Yeah, I've always been. People have always seen me around. Like if you're on any sort of Edison content creation thing and there's a live stream, you guarantee you'll see me say something probably ridiculous, but I'm always in there. And one of the things I've always liked about it is I've had a lot of people reach out to me like in different discords or like on whatever, because I've always been just, I'm an open book and I heal out loud about a lot of the bad shit that I've been through, and I've always wanted to use that as like a point to help other people going through anything that they're going through, and then always be like, it sounds like cheesy and cliche, but like be the person you needed, or be the person that you needed whenever you needed it the most, has been like my whole mindset and mantra. And just taking the things that I went through, like, calm winds make a poor sailor. And if you read any book or any story or manga or anime or whatever it is, the main character makes it a great story because of the hard trials and tribulations that character goes through and ends up prevailing. So I'd always say, my life is a book. And right now is a really hard, rough couple chapters, but I know that as long as I'm the main character, the story's going to have a happy ending.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was beautiful, honestly.
Yeah, it really was. That was amazing, man.
Yeah.
I've had multiple people reach out to me, just recently through DMs. I've had people hit me up on dueling book messages. That's actually how me and Campa started becoming like real friends, because he was going through something and he saw something I'd said on one of the Discord or something. And he just pops into DB chat and sends me a message, and then I kind of helped talk him through what he was going through. And now I talk to him every single day on Facebook, and I've had multiple people do that. And I'm thankful that people want to do that, because I didn't have people there whenever I needed it. So it's just one of my biggest things about why I like this community too, is everyone's usually going through something. So it's easier to, suffer as, with people around you than suffer in silence alone. So, I'm always chatting. I'm always around, usually being ridiculous, but I'm also always here if anyone ever needs, someone to talk to or, whatever. So.
Amazing.
Right. And that's really important. I feel like, especially like if you're always somebody's like go-to person, it's just like it feels good when the go-to person also has someone to go to. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, you can't pour from an empty bowl, kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny because the name Enraged Peacock, like, it's funny because I never get mad, really. Like, I don't think you'll see me ever on any platform of me talking and being like mad or like being ridiculous about something, which is kind of bad for the brand, I guess. But
Same. I'm usually pretty chill, like 99.9% of the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Did I ever tell you guys how the name Enraged Peacock came about?
I wanted to ask.
Yeah, do our send off with that.
Yeah. This will be a great closing point, because I've told people like periodically, but I don't think I've also never done like a podcast or an interview like before. Like I was supposed to, I held my national deck list. I had multiple people ask for it. I gave it to Frazier, and I was going to give it to Cairo, but then there's a bunch of stuff that happened after NAS, so I wasn't able to do a lot of the interviews and stuff. So it's cool to finally have like a platform to say just some of the stuff I've always been saying. But the name Enraged Peacock. So you guys, I'm assuming, played Call of Duty back in the day, or Halo, right?
Yeah.
So the main place it came from originally was my friend Conway. Shout out Conway. I mentioned him earlier. We were coming up with gamer tags because in one of the Halos, whenever you would kill your teammate, it would flash across the screen, be like betrayed, and then it'd have the gamer tag. Or you'd be like, if you get on a 4 or 5 kill streak, you'd be like, that gamer tag is on a killing spree. So the formula was a bizarre animal with a unique adjective, and I used Enraged Peacock. So you'd see an Enraged Peacock is on a killing spree, or you've been betrayed by an Enraged Peacock. And I thought that was the funniest thing in my entire 13-year-old self. Like, then I just kind of never, I never really stuck with anything. I made everything always the same. And then I realized that every time I was in like a Twitch chat or like a YouTube chat or any sort of a chat, anytime they read my name and say something, it's always like Enraged Peacock. Wow, that's an interesting. The name stands out. They're always like, oh, good comment. They're like, Enraged Peacock. Like, where's that come from? So it's a name that's kind of bizarre. It kind of sticks out. But my favorite thing is like through Discord and Facebook and everything, there's a peacock emoji, and I've made it my like calling card to always react to anything with the peacock emoji. So it's a full big, just circle of, I thought it was a meme, kind of a name, because I thought it was funny to be like, oh, it's on an Enraged Peacock's on a killing spree, to then, end up being where I peacock react to everything, and that was the origin of it.
Well, that's really cool. I'm glad we got the origin story for that.
I also hate birds. Like I actually hate birds, and I hate like. It's funny because I've tied so much of myself like to that like name like accidentally basically, but like my dad was never a big part of my life. But one of the few times I did go see him, he lived in a trailer park, and this trailer park had peacocks just like walking around, and they would scare the ever living life out of me as a little kid.
Bro, this is like Batman,
name,
but for peacocks.
Like, chased by, I'm like, man, that thing's fucking crazy. So it made sense to like.
It's literally like, what if Batman fell into a cave full of peacocks instead of bats? It would literally just be Enraged Peacock.
Oh, yeah.
Peacock, the animated series.
Oh man,
that was phenomenal.
Dude, the last thing I'll say before we head up real quick. So I was playing One Piece for a while, and my favorite One Piece content creator, the Luffy TCG. Go check him out if you're into any sort of One Piece card game stuff. He's awesome. But he's made it to where if you're a subscriber for a certain amount of time, you have a special command that he'll put in with like a Spotify link. So every time I enter the chat now, I put !! Peacock, and then this is what happens. And so it'll come on and it's loud, and then he'll like shake it from the face cam, and he'll be like, "Oh, hi, Enraged." So it's a good time. And it's a fun thing to have a branding with, because people will randomly send me anytime anyone comes across anything that is somewhat Peacock related, they will send me a DM, which is kind of hilarious.
I love that. Yeah, Ty has, I think, mentioned a few times that where I live in King, North Carolina, there is a neighborhood peacock that just runs around. No one knows who he is or where he came from, but his name is Joe, and we're stuck with him.
Yeah, I like because
you misspelled. It's you're blessed with him.
That's true. That's true.
like real quick, I'll tell this story. So what tripped me out is I used to work at Walmart third shift, right? And I was on my way home from work, and driving home, I see this thing. It's just a peacock on the side of the road. I'm just like, am I just slap happy tired? Is that actually a peacock? And then like I get when I get home, I see like, lo and behold, I see on Facebook there's pictures of a peacock that walks around King, North Carolina, and I start like delving into it and like find out his name's Joe the Peacock. He's got like a whole Facebook page. And I'm like,
that's incredible.
What is this?
they need to elect him mayor. Like what that town in Minneapolis did. They nominated some dog as mayor. Like you definitely have Joe the Peacock 2025 signed to your yard.
Oh my god, we need those t-shirts.
Yeah, for sure, we definitely do. Okay, all right, guys. Well, I think that's about all we have for this one. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this, and we will definitely have more Enraged on the podcast very soon. Ty, Austin, thank you guys for sitting down here with me tonight.
For sure. Always a pleasure.
Oh, definitely. It's always fun.
And this is Mike, Ty, and Austin from the Edison Club signing out until the next one.
Hamster Ryko Caius, Hamster Ryko Caius. I go check the pairings, I'm like, don't know who this guy is. Hamster Ryko Caius, Hamster Ryko Caius. 2-0 every round, man, and I ain't even trying. It's just Hamster Ryko Caius, Hamster Ryko Caius. Hamster Ryko Caius.